Welcome to Asking for a Friend. This week we have Alana Madrano from Coldwell Banker Tomlinson in the North Office, correct?
Yes, North Office.
Let's just start by just tell the internet or whoever's watching about yourself.
So like you said, my name is Alana Madrano. I'm a mother of two, and we moved to Spokane a little over a year ago. I've been dabbling in real estate for about 12 years with our own personal purchases and sales. We've flipped homes and been landlords. Spokane is just a particularly exciting place to be in real estate because of the evolving market here and just how quickly it's changing.
Are there any neighborhoods you do seem to gravitate towards or do more business in?
Not so far. I've had sales on 5 Mile and South Hill and Hilliard, Valley. We've been all over the place, and it really is just determined by the buyer, what they're looking for, and what they need in their next home.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's a ton of different spots in town to buy. And
Yeah, and as many different neighborhoods as there are people and desires for the type of living that they want. So some people want a walkable community, and they might gravitate towards areas like the Perry District or the Garland District. Hilliard is becoming more, walkable with the downtown area within Hilliard. And so those are areas in different price ranges that people might gravitate towards. And then there's other people who want to be in a cul-de-sac type neighborhood, a little more remote.
So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is when we met, you have a unique, I think, look at home buying, and more. I think you pay attention more to future value. Obviously, you pay attention to now, but more future value. Can you explain why that's important?
Yeah. So most people who are looking to buy a home are looking for something that fits within their budget and, is going to provide comfort for them to live in for the time being. First-time home buyers are oftentimes telling me that they want to get out from under a landlord. They're tired of throwing money into a hole, and that they have to live somewhere, so why not own a place? And they're absolutely right. But what a lot of people don't think about is they come into home ownership or, secondary ownership if they've already owned before, is how that's going to perform for them in the future. And so I tell people that anytime you're buying a home, you're not just getting a place to live, but you're also investing in your future. And homes are a very unique type of investment because, just take stocks for an example. If you wanted to buy a stock and you walked into a corporation and you sat in on their board meetings and listened to what they were saying and what their plans for their businesses and then bought and sold stocks off of that, it would be insider trading and totally illegal, right? But in real estate, you have a unique ability to go to city council meetings and to planning meetings and to pay attention to what developments and parks and neighborhood associations are doing. And all of that can help shape your understanding of future value in different pockets and areas. And all of that is completely legitimate and advantageous in terms of buying in real estate. And so as I'm helping people buy, I'm not just asking them, what fits their lifestyle and their needs today, but I'm also asking them what their future goal is going to be when they're ready to sell this home. Is this something they want to hold for, 3 to 5 years? Is this something they want to hold for 10 years? Or is this a home that they want to stay into, until their retirement age? And all three of those can project a very different plan in terms of, what their selling power is going to be in the future. And so it all needs to kind of work together. You have to want to live where you own. And you also want to know that when you're ready to sell, that money that you've put into it is going to work to your advantage for your next purchase.
Right. And the reality is I think what I've noticed is, especially like in first-time home buyers, is that, you think you're going to live in a home forever. And so statistics say you have 9 years, right? And so you forget about that down the road. And so I think I commend you for that unique approach to looking at it.
Yeah.
So what are some of those neighborhoods that you're talking about that you see like future value gains and those kind of things?
Yeah, so there's several areas that we can see have already started to gain. Perry District is one of those that just in the last couple of years has become, largely unaffordable to first-time home shoppers who might be attracted to that type of location. We've also seen the same thing start to happen in the Garland District, although there's still homes here that are affordable, and in the Audubon area. And I also think think that Hilliard is a really well-positioned place to see value gain into the future. I know that a lot of people from Spokane kind of reject the idea of 395 being completed at any time in the future, but that is budgeted. It is underway right now, and I actually just ran into some people from Spokane Water Department that were telling me about their current employment to reroute some of those sewer and water pipes to allow for the continuation of that freeway. And a number of those properties have been taken by eminent domain already. And so as that freeway finishes, and you have the Children of the Sun Trail, right, that terminates currently in Hilliard and will be continuing to the Centennial Trail eventually, all of that is going to make it bikeable. It's going to make it easy commutable. It has a cute little downtown. I mean, downtown is not a city, but a walkable district of Hilliard. There's summer festivals. There's the pool with water slides, Chaz's there, libraries there. There's a lot of amenities that I think draw people in. And what I'm seeing is a lot of out-of-town people moving to Spokane for the affordability here, and they are not necessarily taking stigma that people have that are local here. They're coming in and seeing a cute, walkable district, affordable homes, proximity to downtown. And those are people who are moving in and starting to, for lack of a better word, gentrify and change some of these areas.
Do you or don't you subscribe to the old adage, buy the worst home in the best neighborhood?
I think it depends on what the buyer is intending for their home. My husband and I, for our first home, we bought a 110-year-old fixer, gutted it down to studs and rebuilt from the frame up. And that wasn't the worst house in the best neighborhood. That was the best city we could afford when we were starting off as a first-time home buyer. And that's an area that has seen immense growth since we purchased and then subsequently sold that one also. But that was a lot of work. It's a lot of work to renovate, to fix up. And when you're looking at the worst house in the best neighborhood, what you have to consider is that whether or not that house is an indicator of a declining neighborhood, or whether or not coming in and fixing that one up will bring it up to a conforming standard of the rest of the neighborhood. And so if that house is a trend of the other one starting to fall into disrepair, then that might not be the best neighborhood to buy into, because you're buying into a downward trend. If it's an anomaly, if it's something that is just unique, or some scenario that's unique in the neighborhood, then it can be a great way to put in a little sweat equity, or even pay someone to do some work and turn that one around. But you also have to want to be able to live in the home that you're living in. Right.
Yeah. So what are some things that buyers should look for in the actual home for resale value?
Right. So we like to call the bread and butter homes are things like 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. In general, when you have that, it appeals to the largest group of people who might be shopping for a home. We also look for functionality of the home. Does it have a unusual layout that would make it hard for people to occupy in the future? Well, that probably depreciates the value a little bit when you're buying now, but that's also going to be a factor into the future, unless there's something that can be modified in that home to make it more functional. And if that's the case, then that might be a good choice investment-wise and living-wise. But in general, it needs to fit for the largest number of people who might be shopping for it. The more potential buyers you have for a specific home, the more of the market that you're going to compel to take a look at it, and the more competing offers you'll get at the time that it's ready to list.
We've actually talked about kind of the seller's market on a lot of these episodes, but talk about the market now and maybe in the next few years, kind of what you see happening.
Yeah, so the market right now in Spokane is, just phenomenally quick, challenging. It's a unique market right now because we have such a diminishing supply of inventory. Our market and review meeting that we just had looked at market trends from 2014 moving forward to this year. And what it showed is kind of the line of inventory over the course of each year. Starting back in 2014, it's sitting around 4,000 homes on average. And each year we've seen that drop down, and today we're sitting at around or just under 1,000 homes overall on the MLS. What that means that there are significantly less homes available for buyers, And we just don't have sellers who are bringing their homes to the market the way that we would need to replenish that inventory. And at the same time, we have an influx of people coming into Spokane for affordability, and also because it's just a really great place to live. There's so much to do here, and that's really drawing in people. And so all of that is creating a very competitive market. We're seeing a lot of homes go over asking price and with competing bids. And it's becoming more challenging for buyers. It's great for sellers at this point, but there's also the question as to whether, how long this trend will continue, and whether it's better if you're a seller to hold if you don't need to sell. And so my projection and belief into the future is what we're seeing now is going to hold stable. A lot of factors are influencing that, from the total number of developments that are taking place, and we have more and more developers coming into the area. D.R. Horton just came in. There's a prefab manufacturer that's just built up a warehouse in the valley. So all of these developers are taking notice of the Spokane market and coming here, but there's just not enough development to keep up with the pace of the buyers and the people moving here. And then we also have industry that's bringing employees. So Amazon is coming in with their warehouse, which initially is going to represent roughly 1% of the workforce. And whenever you bring in industry and employees, you're actually bringing in about 2.5 employees for every job created because of, accommodations in terms of housing and accommodations in terms of restaurants and all of these kind of, other industries. And so I think that what we're going to see is a continued growth in Spokane. Nationally, we're seeing trends of a little bit of slowing, but I just don't think that that's going to touch our micro economy here. It's unique. And I think that as we see areas like Seattle start to slump, and I just actually read an article about Spokane outpacing Seattle's home market for the first time in a long time, that as we see those other markets slump, people who are selling their homes there might be thinking, well, where can I afford to buy a home that's still of, the quality of living that I'm used to in this area? And those are people who might say, well, now my house is only worth this much in Seattle, but if I buy over in Spokane, I'm going to be able to afford this much more. That won't hold out true forever because Spokane is growing, and literally month after month we're seeing prices go up. But I just don't see anything in the foreseeable immediate future that's going to rock our trends of continued growth.
We always ask, what's your favorite place to go grab a meal or a snack in Spokane?
Yeah, well, so I work out of Coldwell Banker Tomlinson North Office, and I also live in the North End here. And so oftentimes when I'm meeting clients or colleagues, or just frankly wanting to stop for a good place, I will go over to Petite Chat. It's a bakery. They do all their own in-house stuff, and they have just amazing quiches. So I go there for the quiche and stay for the coffee, and try to avoid the pastries because they're killer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. Super valuable information for people thinking about entering the market either way, as a seller or a buyer. Tell the people how they can reach you.
Yeah, so Alana Madrano, Coldwell Banker Tomlinson out of the North Office. My cell phone number is 509-730-4822. And you can also reach me through my Facebook page, Madrano Estates. Thank you.
We'll see you next week on Asking for a Friend.